think I'll get us going. So first, it's great to see you all, and we have all joined for an important and joyous occasion, which is to celebrate our friend and colleague Hugh Hansen, um, and uh, and to pay tribute to Hugh's remarkable 45-year run on the faculty of Fordham Law School. Hugh will be continuing as director of the Hansen IP Institute, so we can leave that for another day. But it's a great moment to spend some time gathering to just praise you, Hugh, and to let us express our appreciation and thanks. So I'm going to provide a few of the basics, and then we're going to turn it over to a number of people who have some short thoughts to share. And let me just say, so first of all, here's some background material on our own Hugh Hansen. Hugh went to Rutgers for his undergraduate degree, graduated from Georgetown Law, and has an LLM from Yale. He clerked for two federal judges, both incredibly distinguished, Inzer Wyatt in the Southern District and Murray Gerfine on the Second Circuit. He worked for Dewey Ballantyne, and was an assistant AUSA. And Hugh, I've known you for 30 years, and I'm not sure I knew all of those specifics about you, so I thought it worth recounting. And then Hugh joined the Fordham faculty, as I said, 45 years ago. And when Hugh joined the faculty, it was a different era in many ways. I won't go through them all, but one important way was when I think of the field of IP in those days, I picture it as a little niche field inhabited mostly by a bunch of men sipping cognac and snifters in wood-paneled rooms, and in a very small kind of closed group. And Hugh really is one of those leaders who helped bring the field of IP into the mainstream of American law and the mainstream of the American legal academy and legal education, and helped guide it on its way into a mainstream of practice. So to give you a feel of it, when Hugh came to Fordham Law, IP was like a course, and that was it. It was the IP curriculum was just one or two courses. And Hugh built out a suite and curriculum in IP that has made us a leader in the field. And both by supporting and mentoring new full-time faculty members and recruiting and supporting an incredible field of adjunct faculty who've worked with us over the course of decades to make our IP program and our IP curriculum one of the very strongest in the nation. Just as all of us who've worked with Hugh and know him and spent time with him know, Hugh has a distinctive take on the American legal system, and does not hold back from sharing his realpolitik analysis of our judicial system, of our laws, and has really imparted a kind of practical sense of how things work in reality to several generations of students that has, I think, really stood them in good stead. And of course, Hugh has built our nation's leading IP conference, drawing IP practitioners from all over the world to our law school. Just as recently as last Thursday and Friday, when it was the 31st annual IP conference, the school was packed with IP lawyers from all over the world. And they were all here because of Hugh's vision in creating this incredible program. And the conferences that Hugh runs have a feel to them like no other. And Hugh, the motto is learn, you have to correct me if I get it wrong, Hugh. I think it's learn, discuss or debate, and have fun. And the have fun is an important element, and there's a kind of spontaneity about them and an unscripted quality which makes them very, very special. And I think that people appreciate them, for that quality. At this point, we've got a number of other people who want to say a few words. And I want to, call on first and recognize Jane Ginsburg, our colleague from up at Columbia, one of our nation's leading IP practitioners, to share a few thoughts about Hugh's contribution to the field of IP. And Jane, I'm calling on you first because I know you are in the middle of a class and have stepped out in order to join us today. So we all greatly appreciate that.
Indeed. First the eclipse and now this tribute. So thank you very much, Dean Diller. It is an honor to have been asked to participate in this tribute to Professor Hugh Hansen on the occasion of his retirement from many years of teaching at Fordham Law School. A celebrity in the world of international intellectual property, and I mean the world, Hugh created and has long run the most important, best attended international IP conference anywhere. Every year for over 30 years, Hugh's conference has drawn leading jurists, government servants, academics, and practitioners from around the globe and across IP disciplines. Almost everyone who is anyone, and many who will become rising stars in the field, gather at Fordham to learn, debate, have fun, as the conference's motto urges. Hugh consistently identifies cutting-edge topics and expert speakers to edify and sometimes to provoke the attendees. If the denizens of the realm of international IP come to feel like a community, Hugh can take much of the credit. We mark our calendars for every Thursday and Friday after Easter, knowing that when we assemble at Fordham under Hugh's guidance and prodding, we will meet old friends, make new ones, and collectively explore the law, lore, and occasional mysteries of international IP. Hugh has been called the ringmaster of the three-ring circus of international patent, trademarks, and copyright, and satellite domains. His mighty efforts have sparked fruitful reflection and no small amount of revelry. So congratulations, Hugh, on your retirement.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you so much for joining us.
I apologize for having to get back to my class now.
Fair enough, though. But thank you for squeezing us in. I appreciate it. We all do.
Thank you, Jane.
And now I call upon Dean John Furyk.
Thank you. You and I joined the law school community more than 40 years ago. As already noted, he came with an understanding of the practice of law from his clerkships and in both the district court and the Court of Appeals, and with a leading law firm, and also as a government attorney. We used to talk about law practice, both of us having arrived at the school roughly at the same time, with some similarity in our background. I remember those years vividly because he brought a distinctive real-life approach to the teaching of constitutional law. He saw legal realism in courtrooms and brought to the subjects he taught an understanding of how courts, governments, and agencies work. He grew and grew in importance as a faculty member, and most especially a member who was open to serving on faculty committees and rendering support to the many initiatives underway at the time, including the Conference on the European Union established by Professor Barry Hawke. Hugh was always helpful to students seeking employment, and that has never ended. Just last week, I asked him to help a student from Turkey. He had a reputation for kindness and support of both students and colleagues. The school's former associate dean, Georgine Vero, shared with me by email the story of you. You, and I quote, you adopted one of my unexpected puppies back in, I think, 1987. I had found a dog, golden retriever. We named her Corsie because she was found on a causeway. I couldn't find her owner, so I kept her. That Christmas, it turned out Corsie was in heat, and our male dog thought he had just received the best Christmas present possible. 2 months later, 8 puppies popped out in my apartment. You was the first to step up. I was so glad he took one because you was always so sweet and kind to me. I knew he would be a great dad for one of Corsie's pups. Georgine added in her email, you was a key to whatever success I had as associate dean. As you know, one of my missions was to help elevate Fordham's prominence and reputation in the law school world. I learned so much from him about approaches I should take to effectuate that. As you know, our U.S. news stats climbed while I was there, cementing us as not only a great regional school, but a great national player. Bob Riley, a former assistant dean of students, spoke of you from his perspective. Said Bob, I had regular and pleasant interactions with Professor Hansen. He was gaining an international reputation in intellectual property law, but remained sincerely interested with the academic and personal challenges faced by students. He was always open to finding the best result for them. On the other hand, Bob said, when we played golf on one occasion, he only believed in a strict interpretation of the rules. In the early 1990s, when you approached me about creating an intellectual property conference that would bring speakers to the school from all over the world, the idea impressed me. He told me that there was a lot of interesting activity in IP overseas, especially in the EU. He also said that there would be little interest on this side of the Atlantic in an IP conference. After hearing his presentation, I worried that we had no budget to cover the cost, especially of a conference that would lose money because of the transportation of speakers from all over the world. He persevered and promised that while it would lose money over its early history, it would at some point turn the corner. His mission, his passion for the idea overwhelmed me, and I encouraged him to give it a try, and we would find the funds to cover the cost. As Hugh retires, he leaves behind an incredible legacy. It includes the creation of the most significant legal conference in the world on international intellectual properties, already noted, which the director of the WIPO has called the Davos of the IP world. His legacy is far more ranging than the conference, as Hugh's lectures on IP law issues has both strengthened and called attention to this area of the rule of law at universities all over the world, as well as at government and think tank institutions in Asia, Europe, Australia, and Japan, just as a few examples. His views have been quoted in the media, and he has appeared on news shows. He has been honored with invitations to deliver a number of distinguished lectures in our country and abroad. His articles and books on IP and antitrust law have been numerous, including among these is his New York Intellectual Property Handbook, annually updated for 11 years. Managing Intellectual Property magazine named you as one of the 50 most influential people in the IP world multiple times. It characterized him as an IP provocateur, as the ringmaster, as already noted, who pulls together one of the IP's world's most attended events. The former chief judge of the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit presented him with an award for his contributions to the legal community's understanding of IP law. Lord Colin Bliss recently said that Professor Hansen has been personally responsible for bringing together judges and practitioners from all over the world to speak to one another for decades. By doing so, he has done more single-handedly for the improvement of justice in many countries than anyone I know, said the Lord Bliss. He has had a profound effect. Hugh has also left a legacy to the students of Fordham Law School in establishing with Professor Andrew Sims a student law journal on IP law for students to contribute articles as well, and others who want to write and share their views through our publication. And of course, the institute he established, the Emily C. and John E. Hansen IP Institute, will perpetuate his hard work and vision for years to come. And might I add a note from a colleague of yours who handled many of the administrative details associated with his annual conference, Helen Herman. And this is what she said: wishing you a retirement full of good health, happiness, and friendship. In my time working with you on the annual conference, I always knew I could depend on your help and insight. Grateful to all, grateful to have worked with you. May the next chapter of your story be all you want it to be. My best wishes. There is much more I could say of you, but time in this virtual does not allow for that. Permit me to close by saying how much I have appreciated your personal friendship, your interest in my family roots, leading you to do a podcast about my roots in which you shared some of your own story. And I will never forget that. A half dozen years ago, you received Fordham University's Benny Merente Medal for 40 years of service. The citation began and ended with quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. As the citation began, do not go where the path may lead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. As the citation ends, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make yourself something else is the greatest accomplishment. Such was the Hugh Hansen I knew these past 40 years as a colleague and friend and member of the Fordham Law School faculty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, John. And next we have a video, because he could not be here himself, a short message from Dean Michael Martin, who both preceded me in the Dean's office and was a longtime faculty colleague of Hugh's.
Hi, Hugh. I'm pleased to add my congratulations on your retirement from full-time teaching. It's richly deserved, and I hope you enjoy your retirement as much as I've enjoyed mine. I'm sorry not to be joining you live as we celebrate your remarkable career. Thankfully, easy video recording and Zoom are just two of the many changes at Fordham Law since we first became colleagues. It's 46 years ago. At the time you joined the faculty, the law school was known for good teaching that produced lawyers who were practical and committed to public service. In the classroom, where I believe you taught con law as well as IP courses, you certainly continued to produce Fordham lawyers who knew the law, who had the skills and judgment in applying it that made them sought after in all professional roles, and who never forgot their obligations to their community. But Hugh, you will be most remembered for helping extend the law school's reputation. At the time we started school, it was pretty much in the New York metropolitan area. But your intellectual property law conference, along with Barry Hawk's conference on international competition law, made the name of Fordham Law recognized around the world. Each year, your conference brings together the leading jurists, advocates, regulators, and scholars dealing with intellectual property. They come to learn of the latest developments in IP law and practice, and exchange ideas that will become the latest developments in succeeding years. The renown of the participants and the quality of the discussions has made the Fordham International IP Conference the essential, the don't miss meeting of the year for the leaders in the field. Quite appropriately, I'm recording these remarks as this year's conference is meeting. When I walked through the lobby and got on the elevator, I could sense the energy and excitement among the participants. Once again, Hugh, you've made Fordham the center of international IP universe. I know how hard you work to put together a successful program, the effort you make to get speakers and put together panels and all that. And the longevity and the consistently high quality of the Hansen conference is a tribute to your efforts. So I was pleased to hear that although you are retiring from full-time teaching, you will continue to lead the International IP Conference. As I salute you for your many accomplishments, and as I express my appreciation for your contributions to the law school, I thank you for being my colleague these many years, and I extend my very best wishes as you continue with the conference and as you begin this new chapter in your life. All the best.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And now I'll call on.
Who is this guy? I want to meet him.
Not quite done. We're not quite done. We've got a few more, Hugh. I want to call on one of the members of our IP faculty, longtime adjunct professor John Richards. And thank you for being with us, John.
Thank you, Matt. I think your characterization of the IP community when we started was perhaps a little bit off, but not to worry. I first heard of Hugh Hansen having lunch with Barry Hawke and my then senior partner, because we were thinking that we should propose to Fordham that it should teach a course in international patent law. If I remember correctly, that lunch was at Fiorello's, which may be a bit prescient, in that Hugh, of course, for a long time had his own table at Fiorello's and his own stash of surprisingly good New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Anyway, in the course of that conversation, Barry said that Hugh was going to, Fordham was going to experiment by having an IP professor. Now, experimentation, I think, is good. I had a teacher at school who said Aristotle delayed the advance of science by 1500 years by failing to experiment. And Hugh has certainly not only been an experiment, but has been an experimenter. As we have heard from others already, the conference really was an experiment, continues to be an experiment. Innovations in the conference, which I think were some of the reasons that have made it so successful in terms of forcing speakers to focus on a few things and make sure they get their points over rather than rambling on for 40 minutes or so. Also, Hugh's cross-examination of the luminaries, even if they sometimes have reacted to that cross-examination, but they still come back every year to be challenged again. And that, again, I think has been a major part of the success of the conference. However, I'm here not because of my involvement with the conference, but because I'm an adjunct in the law school, and I think we need to get back to teaching. What Hugh, I think, has done in his teaching is just as provocative as some things he's done in the conference, in forcing people not only to express their knowledge, but think about how that knowledge is to be applied. And that is, I think, a major thing that Hugh has done. I have, on occasion, taught the patent part of Hugh's intellectual property survey course. And Hugh has often been part of the audience when I've done that. And I have experienced the same challenges as he gives to the students. And I think that that is a highly important way of a part of what Hugh has done to educate the student community at Fordham. I have many students who speak enthusiastically about what they have learned from Hugh in the classes that he has taught. Recently I've been having students saying, when is Hugh going to be back teaching? And I, to begin with, said, well, we're not really quite sure. We were hoping he's going to be back. And more recently, I've said, well, maybe you missed your chance. And without exception, they've expressed regret that they will not be taught by Hugh. And that, I think, is one of the biggest compliments that a teacher can receive. So I am still hopeful that maybe at some point the condition that Hugh has will be resolved. There is more research going on in the area than there has been for about 20 years. So it could happen. And if so, I certainly would like to welcome Hugh back into my patent law class, even though he has strange views about patent law, just to stir everybody up. So thank you, Hugh. I greatly appreciate what you have done for the school, for me, and the friendship that we have had over the, I guess, since sometime in the 1980s. I'm not quite sure when exactly. And wish you well, and hope to see you around. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. And next we have Nick Bartelt, Fordham Law alumnus and former assistant director and senior fellow at the IP Institute, and currently an attorney with the U.S. Copyright Office.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Hugh. I appreciate the opportunity here to say a few words about Hugh, to congratulate him on his 45 years of teaching. I've had the privilege of knowing Hugh for about 15 of those years, so a good third of it. I don't go back as far as some of our speakers, but I did have a lot of good experiences with Hugh that I'd just like to recap here. I'm grateful. I think he, myself, and a number of students over the years are grateful for the opportunities he's given to really generations of Fordham law students. Hugh, you've served as a great mentor both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. I think because you're going to continue on in your role as the director of the IP Institute, I'm going to focus on your teaching and work with students, which I think some of us have seen more of, and I feel fortunate to have experienced that. So although I started as a research assistant working on your New York intellectual property handbook before I even took a copyright course with you, I think you were able to see potential in a lot of students, myself included, give them the opportunity to work as research assistants, and then as fellows at your IP Institute. And one of the things I had recognized, even very early on, is that you really tried to cultivate and get the opinions and respected the opinions of your research assistants and students, whether you were developing the conference program, whether we were working on amicus briefs, whatever the work of the Institute was, or that, was particularly interesting to you at a given moment. You were very good at drawing out and eliciting the opinions and ideas and thoughts that your students could bring to the issues. As I said, you are, I'm going to focus on your teaching here. You're obviously a very dedicated professor. You're, I think you said your first love maybe was litigating, but it does seem like teaching was your true passion and calling. And certainly that's what you spent the majority of your career doing ultimately. I got to see that firsthand as both a student in your copyright course, and then later on as a teaching assistant when I was a fellow at your institute. I think you became, even as you became internationally recognized as this premier figure in the IP world and had incredible influence internationally. You always put your class first, and it was a priority over, any of the conference or other activities of the Institute. And I think Fordham Law students really benefited from that sort of level of dedication that you showed, despite, having a lot going on in the world, especially around this time of year when the conference was going on. You had what I'd consider almost a legendary copyright law outline that was essentially like your own unpublished case book to supplement the case law reading and offer your unique perspective on intellectual property, and particularly in copyright issues. And like any great professor, say you brought tremendous energy to your teaching and passion for the subject matter, and really thrived when you could have a dialogue with the students about a case, particularly when you're trying to read between the lines or go beyond the text to understand the court's reasoning. So I think as Matthew had alluded to earlier and mentioned, your legal realist approach to IP, and this has been one of yours, I think, your greatest contributions to your students, and being able to interpret these cases and see them, the practical realities behind them, and try to dig into what the reasoning of them is, because as you're encountering these issues on a day-to-day basis, everything varies a little bit different from what from what the case you might have read says. So I think the mantra, or the equation, I guess maybe, is we learned was facts plus policy equals law. And I think you'd written it on the board probably on the first day, and it's stuck with me ever since. So I'll just note also that you had I appreciated your ability to bring in musicologists, you're bringing guest speakers, bring in all the variety of people, and I think some of whom are here today that continue to work in intellectual property law and bring their experience to bear, and explain what it's like there out in the real world, which I think you never wanted your students to lose sight of. With that, I'll just say, students, while I was there as a fellow, continue to come back and express their appreciation for your philosophy and your teaching, and everything that you gave them as part of their Fordham Law experience. And I'm grateful to be able to do so again today, and be one of those people to say, how much of an impact you've had on my life and my career. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, congratulations. I hope, like John said, maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to drop in on a patent law class here or there. But until then, I'm glad that the IP world still has you as a figure running your annual conference. And you certainly, 45 years of teaching is nothing to is quite an accomplishment. So thanks, Hugh, and congratulations.
Very much, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. And next we have Saper Shashahani, one of our newest IP scholars at Fordham.
Hi, Hugh. I just wanted to add my perspective as someone who joined Fordham when Hugh was already a senior professor, one might say an institution at Fordham. And I really appreciated Hugh's kindness and support as a new faculty member. I would be here often late into the evening prepping for class my first semester, and Hugh would come in to teach his night class, and he would always pop in to sort of share a joke or share an anecdote, or just to tease me. And I remember that always made my evenings more enjoyable and made for a welcome break. He also took me out for a nice dinner, and where we had good food and even better stories. So I really, as a new professor, it made for such a warm environment, and it made my life so much better to have a senior colleague who's so supportive. So thank you, Hugh, for making us a leader in intellectual property law, and for your kindness and support.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, at this point, I want to just open it up to see if there's any more thoughts that any of our Zoom participants want to share. And if so, please use the raise hand function. And then I'll just say, then I have a brief presentation, and then I'm going to give Hugh an opportunity for some rebuttal. Susan Scafidi.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, I'm sorry to have missed this mythical era of sipping cognac in dark paneled rooms, but like many people on the Zoom, I too count my friendship with Hugh in conference years. So my first conference was the 10th, which means we've known one another for 21 years. So we're finally coming of age. And at that 10th conference, my first, someone introduced me to Hugh and told Hugh about the book I was writing at the time. And Hugh said, well, we have a panel on that. I said, yes, I know. He said, well, why aren't you on my panel? And as I was stammering, looking for an answer, he said, well, get your ass on my panel. So 2 hours later, my butt was on Hugh's panel. And I don't think I've missed a conference since. And then when we started the Fashionable Institute, Hugh, you became a big brother to the Institute. You gave us great advice, tremendous support, yes, some gentle teasing, all the good things a brother does. And I really can't thank you enough. And I just don't know how we could have done it without you. So I'm thrilled that you're going to continue to run the conference. And I will have my butt on any panel you ever tell me to at any time.
Great, thank you. Robin Jacob.
Well, Hugh, you wrote to me in 1997. He said, could you come and see me in the law courts? And you told me about your conference. And I thought you were quite a nice guy, really. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And that's one of the best things I ever did. You changed my world perspective, as you did for so many others. The Fordham conference is unlike any other. We've said that before, but I've been to a lot of conferences, and I can say that's absolutely so. I've never been anywhere which is much fun and so focused and yet so fast. I watched how you learnt. You had to control the audience. You had to control the speakers. Obviously, the US military lost a lot in not having you. You were running the US military, the world would be a safer place. But I want to thank you so much, Hugh. And since you're running the conference next year, I will be there.
Thank you, Robin. You better be there.
Yeah, I dare not be there. But you know, it is. I missed an earthquake. I missed I missed a solar eclipse, and I missed some rotten weather. Maybe, I don't know. We've had terrible weather here too. But next year I'm coming.
Thank you, Robin. Ron Wazebnik.
So Hugh, you were one of the first people at Fordham to interview me for the job when I was applying to be a clinical professor here at Fordham, and you were very welcoming the entire time I've been here, and the spirit of the conference, the learn, debate, have fun. I feel like we had quite a bit of between us. Quite often, I knew where I stood in the spectrum of IP positions because you would tell me I am too far left, and Sonia would tell me I am too far right, and so I always thought, oh, I'm a happy middle between the two of you. It's been great having you as a colleague, and I've always appreciated you including me in the conference and the various smaller sessions that you've had throughout the years. And it's been great chatting with you. And I'm very glad to hear that this is not the end. And I was very sorry that I had to miss this year. So I'm glad next year I can chat during one of your panels again. So thank you very much, Hugh.
Great. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Dean Erickson.
Hi there, Hugh. We met when I was a visiting student at Fordham. I was in your classes, and I would say that that was the best part of my law school experience. I wish my JD were from Fordham, but I did get to spend another couple of years there working with you. at the Institute. And so thank you for all of the stories and the mentoring, the teaching. It was great training for practice. When I got my next job at the law firm where I still work, I already knew how to react to senior partners saying, "What's this? Who's this? What judge wrote this?" That was pretty much exactly the type of training that working for you gave me, prepared me for practice and looking at things from a legal realist perspective. So I echo much of what Nick Bartelt said, both as a student and a fellow. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Great. Joe Landau?
Thanks, Matthew. It's really wonderful to hear all of these tributes, Hugh, to you, and to also see and hear from so many of the different people who've worked with you on your institute, on the conference over the years. It really is bringing back a lot of memories. And I just really want to say one thing, which is that the memories are really wonderful. And I'm greatly appreciative, Hugh, of a number of things that you've done for Fordham, the impact that you have, all of the tremendous work that you do. But I just want to speak very personally to just one additional detail, which is the mentorship and the camaraderie that you show for all of your colleagues at the law school. I remember very fondly meeting you the moment that I arrived at Fordham in 2010, and the many times that you took me out for lunch, wanted to get to know me, wanted to hear from me and tell me things about Fordham, but really listen to me. And you have a very rare quality of making people in conversation feel that they're the only person in the world when you're listening to them. And it's really, really special. And it was very important for me in feeling a part of something at Fordham and in experiencing a familial atmosphere that makes us so unique. I wonder if you'll remember this, Hugh, but there was one night where my husband and I were getting ready to run, I think, across Central Park to go to the Stein dinner. And we were in tuxedos and we were all ready to go. And I realized that I didn't have any cufflinks for my tux. And I was kind of walking around the building at 140 West 62nd looking for, I didn't know what I was going to do. And you were there with cufflinks that you loaned me, that I borrowed so that I could look dapper for the Stein dinner. And it's the kind of presence, being there for us, being there for colleagues, that I think really, really makes Fordham special. And I'm greatly appreciative that to hear all of the remarks tonight, and that we can honor you, Hugh, for all that you do and have done.
Thank you, Joe. And you can give me back the cufflinks, by the way.
I already did. But I'll get you new ones if you like.
Great, thank you. Nicholas Groombridge?
Thanks, Matthew. Hugh, I can't believe that you're retiring after only 45 years on the faculty. But I wanted to say, as Robin said, you changed my view of the world, and I'm sure that's true of many, many people in the IP community. And I feel like you've done it by being indomitable and also by being able to form friendships with everyone, despite the gruff exterior, which we all prize and value. Right? And I'm very glad the conference will be going on. Sorry to know that you won't be teaching, but I'm sure we'll find ways to continue to influence this. And I made a note of some of the things that Jane Ginsburg said, because I think maybe the conference could have an unofficial motto, revel, edify, and provoke. Right? I've never known anyone who was able to provoke as creatively and as constructively as you have and do. And it's been a pleasure and will continue to be a pleasure working with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Abner?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm the weakest person on tech. Well, I just want to say to you that I love you and I'll miss you having you around. And And my connection to Hugh is a little less highfalutin academic than the rest of yours. For many years, Hugh and I went to a lot of Knicks games and Mets games together, the orange and blue. And I am always grateful for that, for Hugh, bringing me along to those games, and lots of conversations during all those games about all sorts of things. And I guess at this point in time, Hugh, our basketball team is a little better than our baseball team. But thank you for all of that, and hope to see you for some sports soon.
Thank you, Abby.
Great. Audrey?
Hi, Hugh. Congratulations on your retirement. It's been 20 years since we first met, and we used to have all of our discussions about rules and policies, student issues when I was a registrar, and he'd bring us over to Fiorello's, and he commented he had his own booth. And I said, no, you don't. And lo and behold, when we got there, sure enough, there was his nameplate on the booth wall. I want to say thank you for being a great friend and making me feel like a colleague to you. Thank you, and wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you, Audrey.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all. Let me just say, earlier this year, I was having lunch at Fiorello's, and my eye caught the side of the booth that we were on, and indeed, I saw the nameplate that identified the booth as the Hugh Hansen booth. He shares it, I should just say, with a couple of other people. The name that really jumps out is New York Nick Bernard King. So, you, Hugh, like Bernard King, are an all-star. So I couldn't resist that, sorry. But at this point, if there are if I've
Yes, could I say a word, please? It's Gerald Dworkin.
Yes, please, of course.
Thanks. Hugh, I'm simply going to say a few things which have been repeated before, but it's my privilege to say something. I do want to. We first met Hugh, I think, in about 1991, 92, and we were introduced by Val Cora, who was a character in herself. And you then introduced me to the Fordham conference. And at that particular time, it was an answer to my prayers, because in London, we taught students from all over the world. And at the time, even though it was a new subject, we taught English intellectual property. And English intellectual property was rather narrow for the various people who came to the course. And I had introduced 3 separate courses at the LLM stage: international comparative patents, international comparative trademarks, and international and comparative copyright. And the only problem was, how do we teach all this? And Fordham was the answer to my prayers. It produced a goldmine of outstanding and up-to-date activity each year. And I can remember each year I would stagger back on the plane with piles and piles of learned articles and contributions, because at that time, I think, all the participants gave much longer papers than they did at the present time. And so that in itself was a tremendous benefit to me. But not only that, the conference, as Robin Jacobs said, really opened my eyes to the entire world of IP activity. One got perspectives from all areas of IP, not just the academic, not just the ordinary practitioner, but from business people everywhere. One got a feeling of what IP really was about in the modern age. And the other aspect of it, which amazed me, was the unfettered discussion. English judges, for example, not Robin Jacob, he was an exception, But English judges at the time were very, very reserved and did not like to be asked questions which were outside the scope of their professional activities in the very narrow sense. But he asked them questions, and the EC Commission, who also were very tight-lipped. And he treated them in quite a different way. I think rather like the Spice Girls, what do you want, what do you really, really want? What do you think? What do you really, really think? And to my surprise, most of the judges, and I think the IP judges in the UK, are more prepared to speak their minds than perhaps most of the others in the profession. They were all prepared to react to this and to give their genuine thoughts. And I think that in itself was a major contribution. And above all, however, is your early introduction to the conference, the idea of having fun. Let's discuss all this. Let's have a conference which is fun. And I think that the conference was fun, and in a way it made intellectual property fun. I think my entire career has been fun in a way because of the subject matter itself. So Hugh, thank you first for your contribution to IP. Thank you for your friendship, which I value very much indeed. And as I think was said before, I'm not certain what the significance of it is, but it is odd, isn't it, that there's a New York earthquake in the last day or so. We've got the solar eclipse, and we've got Hugh's retirement. Three things come together and rather remarkable. So Hugh, congratulations and thanks, and we wish you good health and happiness in your retirement.
Thank you very much, Charles. And yeah, I thought Matthew bringing in that solar eclipse was a little bit too much, but I'm glad you did it. Okay. Some point, do you want me to speak, Matthew?
Yes, you'll get your turn. You just,
Okay.
hold your fire for a few more minutes. Larry Bridget.
Hi, Hugh. I just wanted to say, can you hear me? I wanted to just say congratulations on your retirement. I mean, I know you're not actually retiring. You're just retiring from teaching. I just want to thank you for all of the experiences that we've had over the years. And as a staff member, I just want to say thank you for how respectful you are to everyone. You don't treat people differently. You treat everyone the same in a good way. And I also want to thank you for involving me and my son in your conference in the last few years. And I just want to thank you for everything. And I look forward to seeing you at the next conference and even before then. And also, sort of like Abner, I really appreciated all of the Knicks tickets and going to the Mets games. I'm not a Mets fan, but you got me to the stadium to see the Mets. I had to say that. And thank you so much, Hugh, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Larry. You know, try to be a little, look at the Mets. You have to give them a little help, all right? I think your mental state may be one of the reasons they're not doing as well. Be a little more positive about it.
I'll try.
Thank you, and thank you all. And at this point, Hugh, I have a bit of a presentation, which is hard to do on Zoom, but this is a large Tiffany box, as you can see, that can be sent to you. And let me just open it. We have a Tiffany tray, which reads, Professor Hugh Hansen, with appreciation, I'm getting my fingerprints on it, I should just acknowledge that. With appreciation for 45 years on the Fordham Law faculty, educating and bringing together IP leaders from across the globe, April 2024. So congratulations to you, Hugh, and thank you so much for an incredible run.
Thank you, Matthew.
I know we all wish you the best in the future. Now it's your turn.
Okay, well, 45 years. I was only 15 when I started, which was very unusual for a faculty member, but I learned quickly. Okay, so I think what are the influences? I now call myself a legal realist. I didn't even know that term at the time, but I was clerking for a judge, 2 judges. And we had this big case and we worked on it together. Finally had the decision. And he said, we got to call them in to announce or do something else. So I got them to come in and then I had to go out and bring him into another room where the judge was. So I'd go over to this group. And I remember saying, Kathy, you killed. Congratulations. Went at the other side of the room and they said, well, the judge just didn't understand the law. And I was shocked because neither one of them had any effect on the law. They didn't realize that. I mean, it was like, that was the beginning of my legal realism, is that they were very doctrinal. And I said, wow. And so from then on, I would act. Another thing I did, we had a court clerk who was great, 1,000 years as a court clerk. I would ask him, what did you think of this case or that person or this person? It was very good to get a lay person's view of things because they're not thinking about doctrine at all. They're just thinking about the merits. And it was a very good experience. So then I met Dewey Ballantyne. And in those days, first year associates shared a room, and the other person with me said, I'm going to go into teaching, and I'm going to get a Yale LLM because all they take is people who want to teach, and maybe you want to do that. I said, oh, I want to teach. So I did it. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed with the year. I didn't think it actually was that beneficial to me. And then I went to Fordham, and I loved Fordham from the beginning. And there was something about Fordham, and then I wasn't aware of the statistics and all, but when I got there, Fordham had people in the top levels of practicing way beyond their percentage of the students who went to law school. And I so felt at home, and when I talked to people, whether it's faculty, students, the staff was great, the deans were great. And I wasn't thinking of it any particular way, but then I had a couple of people from Yale who had, when I was in their class or something, they came by New York and they said, you gotta, you have to get to a school that has a higher ranking than this with your background and everything. No, actually, I prefer this. So I didn't tell him that, but I prefer this over this school over the year I had with you because it was very grounded in reality. And that, of course, is very important. And that also led to the success of Fordham graduates there in the practice. So to that extent, it's kind of funny the way the world works, but that's how I ended up. Basically, the clerkships had a lot to do with me leading to my legal realist approach. So I don't know, I'm trying to not spend a lot of time here. I think that I just, as soon as I came to Fordham, I really liked it. I liked the people, everything about it, and it was never a question of me not wanting to be here. And over the years, largely thanks to me, and I think almost entirely thanks to me, its reputation has increased. But and then like Larry Bridget. Nick Bartelt, these, the people that I ran into, all great and really enjoyed doing things with them. So almost every aspect, and Audrey, and although Audrey could be a little bossy at times, but still, so every aspect of Fordham actually, to me, has been wonderful. And I'm just very thankful for the opportunity. 45 years, I sort of remember that, yeah. I started when I was 18 or something like that, but that can't be right. And it's just been fantastic. And Matthew has been a fantastic team. And where's John? John Ferrick, are you still here?
He is, Hugh.
John Ferrick?
I'm here.
All right. So he was very important with regard to the Fordham Conference. He was called John the Good. He still is John the Good. I think he hates that name, but it's so true. I mean, how many people would be called John the Good? How good do you have to be to get a reputation of John the Good? That shows how good he was. And so here I'm coming there early on, and I'd been a lot of traveling. I got to know all these people overseas. I said, I'd like to have a conference with them. And I said, it's, John, can we have a conference? And all these people would have to be paying their fare and hotel and everything else. And I think literally John was the only dean who would have even let me start this. It's incredible. And I think he just wanted to do the right thing, the good thing. And he said, okay, I'll give you 3 years to break even. And I did. In 3 years, I broke even. But I really think any other dean, other than maybe Matthew, at that point, or everyone at that point would have said, nobody did IP. And the US people were not that interested in IP. So the beginning of this conference was these people coming over from overseas. And for him to say, okay, I'll take this risk with you, was actually incredible. And I was just a young relative associate. So John, thanks again very much.
Thank you for the memories.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's about all I have. I just want to say this has been wonderful. It's great seeing all of you. I'm not going to ask any of you to pay me or anything, but I'll leave that up to you if you think that's appropriate. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Fordham. Thank you, you guys. Thank you, Matthew. I'm just one of the most fortunate guys around, and I just want you to know that I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Hugh, congratulations. thank you for an incredible run and for really being, a transformative figure in the history of our school and putting us on the map in this, key field in such a fantastic way, and for all your friendship over many years. I also just want to thank all the friends, admirers, and fans of Hugh who've joined us today. It's great to see you all, and just, scanning through the Zoom room. You're a great and fantastic group.
Amen.
Forward to good times together. Thank you all. Oh, one more point. I want to thank Kathleen Horton for assembling us all today, as well as Fordham Law Media Services. Thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good
Hugh.
luck.
Bye, Hugh.
Good
Good
luck.
luck.
That's you.
Get yourself better. Bye.
Bye.
All the best, Hugh. Congratulations on best wishes.
Thank you,
indeed.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.